Hey guys, what's up? It's Joe Rady from Rady's Rides. I know a lot of you like to see other subscribers' cars on the channel, and this one definitely is coming from my biggest fan. This is my wife's 2016 Subaru BRZ Limited. So let's talk a little bit about what should you be looking for if you're gonna buy a used BRZ FRS or Toyota 86, because as you are all aware, if you're looking for that type of vehicle, you would know that Subaru and Toyota got together to create those three vehicles. Now, the reason why there's a Scion FRS is because there was once upon a time here in the United States a car company that belonged to Toyota called Scion. It was meant to be like a young, hip car brand that was a sister brand to Toyota, whereas the other countries around the world just got the straight up Toyota 86. But the two worked together to develop the car that sits behind me. Obviously, that flat four engine, being part of Subaru's heritage, resides underneath the hood. That was a big role that Subaru played. Toyota did some work with the chassis, but together in the end, they made a nice cohesive package with unique personalities. I promise you that, and we'll talk about that in a second. I'm gonna go over the car, and we're gonna point out some things that you need to be looking for. Now, let me give you a little history on this particular car. We found this car, believe it or not, on eBay. Now, we bid on the car, but we wound up not winning it because the reserve was too high. I went ahead and contacted the seller, and got some more information. He lived right in Gainesville, which I'm located in Clearwater. It's about a 3.5 hour drive to Gainesville to see the car. Now, if you are in a position where you're looking online and you can't physically see the car in person, there are organizations where you can actually pay some money for them to go out and see the car on your behalf. And you definitely want to take advantage of that, because I promise you, spending a little bit of money in the process of leading up to buying the car may save you thousands and thousands later down the road from buying a mistake. Now, looking over the car was perfect for us, because one thing we wanted one that was not modified in any way, shape, or form. We found this 2016 BRZ bought by the original owner. So it was a one-owner car. We checked Carfax and a couple other sites. No accident damage that was reported. And then another thing that we did, which I highly advise many of you to do, is we found out where was the car serviced. So thankfully for us, the car was bought at Gainesville Subaru, and it was serviced at Subaru of Gainesville. I was able to call up and talk to the service writer there, and they gave me the full, from start to finish, what were all the oil changes, tire rotations, and if there were any issues that the car was brought in for. A lot of times the dealerships will do that for you, give you that information. Obviously they can't give you personal information, but if you give them the VIN, they can look that information up. Now, as we go around the outside of the car, I want to point out some things to make sure that you're looking for these things that I've noticed where there would be damage. So we found a one owner, unmodified, and this one has extended warranty. Now, just so you know, if you buy a Subaru BRZ for $75, if that previous owner has the extended warranty, for 75 bucks, you could switch it over to your name. It's a real easy process. But let's go ahead and dive into my wife's 2016 Subaru BRZ. Now, obviously, you know the lines. We've talked about the car many times on the channel. The great news about this being a 2016, it's the last year of the first iteration of the BRZ. In 2017, it got a slight refresh with a few extra horsepower, with some different front fascia, different rear fascia, and the rear wing was changed up. But one thing you want to look for, especially being a Subaru, is a lot of times the paint, it's almost like it was put on by a crayon. Look for those chips. If a car's been driven heavily on highways where there's a lot of road construction, there's going to be more chips. We got lucky. This has not a lot of chips, normal wear and tear. The car only had 20,000 miles when we bought it. One place that I've noticed, and you can look on pictures if you look closely, always look down in this lower area of the front fascia. A lot of times people pulling into parking spots or next to a sidewalk, this will get scuffed up a lot. Now, we were very lucky that this side is untouched. On the passenger side, it's just a little bit, nothing too crazy, but sometimes on certain ones that we saw, a lot of damage. We looked for about 2 months for Lori's BRZ. Now, as we come across the front, this being a limited trim, you got the fog lamps. I personally like the 2016 better than the 2017 when it comes to the daytime running lamps. The daytime running lamps are LED down here instead of being in the actual headlight housing. But this being a limited trim, you do have your full LED lighting coming across the front. The nose of the BRZ just seems a little bit more cleaner than the FRS and the Toyota 86. And I think no matter which way you go, the design overall is very, very timeless. Love the distinct body lines right here on the front nose, but you really want to look at your body lines and make sure that everything matches up, even if the Carfax shows up okay, because you could have an accident in, say, a parking lot, and that's never reported to Carfax. But everything hood-wise lined up very, very nicely. Headlight housing, even the body lines on the hood, and you want to make sure that on both sides of the hood is the same amount of gap. That will let you know if the hood's ever been removed and not put on properly, or if the fenders have been replaced or anything like that. Now, as we come around the bend, it's the wheel setup. Now, the good news about the BRZ is that this is the standard wheel, and this is the only wheel. It's a 17-inch wheel. I like the gunmetal gray machined aluminum finish. Look for curb marks. Look for that curb rash, because it could cost you a few $100s to replace that. This has the original tires. So these are the original Michelin Primacy tires. Not really the best for grip, but they do wear very, very well. As you can see, this one has 20,000 miles and still a lot of tread. It's a 215 up front with a 45 series sidewall, but definitely look for your curb rash. And if you're looking online, have them send you pictures of all four wheels, because what I've noticed with some people, they'll just show you one wheel or maybe two. Let them see all four. On the side fender, here is something I didn't even know. Believe it or not, this 2016, this is an optional piece. It's, I think, $180. It actually fit into the fake vent on the side. And for this particular one, I think it just adds a little bit of pizzazz to the side fender to give it a nice touch. But you can see there's not a lot of, there's no dents or scratches or anything like that. We're going into the roof. I love the design of the roof, the way that it has almost like this valley in the center. Really great to look. Look at the weather stripping. Look at all the stripping around the window. See if any of it is lifting up or anything like that. And then of course you want to go around and look for wavy paint, because a lot of times wavy paint can mean it's been repainted. We keep working our way back. Definitely, like, we look at the front wheels, we look at the rear wheels, and then to see if they're rash. And then coming out near the rear, this is what I was talking about with the rear wing. This is the wing from 2013 to 2016. 2017, it got a pedestal actual metal wing, but very, very low, snug to the trunk. We drop down, you got your dual exhaust. Now, if you're noticing on BRZs or FRSs or whatever you're looking at, if there's a lot of soot, these are direct injected turbo. I wish it was a direct injected turbo, but it's a direct injected engine. You're gonna get some soot that is on the exhaust, but definitely look for any cracks, anything separated with the diffuser area, and just very, very clean. Had all the emblems, nothing taken off. This is the design. Remember, this got changed up for the 2017. But why don't we go ahead, pop the hood, and talk about the engine. All right, guys, so we got the hood popped on Lori's 2016 BRZ. One of the things I automatically loved about it is how clean it was. It had just enough patina on it to let you know that this is an almost 4-year-old car, and nothing had been touched. But you definitely want to check your oil levels. You want to look for brake fluid, clutch fluid, your coolant, all of that. My advice is that if you don't know any of this, like if you're looking at this engine, you're like saying, what am I looking at? My advice is pay the $150 or so, go and get it actually inspected by a trained professional. There's an old saying, the cheap comes out expensive. And if you try to save the $150 and just say, okay, everything looks good, then it might cost you later. But definitely look around your terminals on your battery. Is there any corrosion or anything like that? Does it have a different battery? Is it the stock battery? Make sure that when you're looking around, you look at the belt. Are there cracks in the teeth? You actually don't look at the outside of the belt. You look at the rib section where you actually see the teeth of the belt. That's where you're gonna look for your cracks and whatnot. But the great news, like I said, about this particular one is that it's totally stock. Now, if it's not stock, if you're looking at a non-stock one, then you really gotta take into consideration who did the modifications, were they done properly? Another thing is if you take it to a professional, they're gonna put it up on a lift. You may see things on a lift that you're not gonna obviously see by laying on your back underneath the car, especially if the car is from up north. Thankfully, this car was from Gainesville, Florida. We don't have to worry about snow and salt in the road, so corrosion is non-existent in this car. But definitely check all the levels. You want to fire it up, turn on the air conditioning, turn off the air conditioning. This one has a 6-speed manual. Of course, you could get a 6-speed automatic, which you would then make sure to check that operation as well. But let's go ahead, fire up this BRZ and see what it sounds like. All right guys, because I want to really just show what are things that you should be looking for, we're doing this a little differently. I'm not going to get in the car, but I want to point out some of the sore spots that you want to look at on your BRZ. Now this one being a limited means that you're going to have the leather and Alcantara combination. One place you want to look for is down here on the driver's side, because that's going to get the most attention from people getting in and out. Look for wear on this bolster. Thankfully, this one doesn't have an extreme amount of wear on the bolster, but this could start, the stitching could come apart, and that's where you could find some major wear. Also, you're gonna notice on the sill, the plastic section there, did the people or the person getting in and out of the car, did they kick that a lot? Because that could get really, really scuffed up. We went ahead and put Husky floor mats in because the carpet was still looking almost as good as new. That is something that we wanted to protect. On the steering wheel, really check the leather. I found on the BRZs and really some Subarus, as they get older, the leather starts to flake off, or say if the person had rings or whatnot, it could get really scratched up. That's another place you want to look for that extra wear. But when you're inside the car, check the operation. You'll see that with the limited, you are getting dual climate control. Make sure that the dual climate control works. Make sure you turn on your lights, your turn signals, the horn, all of that. The great news is that this particular one, being totally stock from the original owner, I was able to really quickly look over these things and know that there was not going to be a lot of mystery. Another part on the door panel, this is where you could get some wear at the top. There's a simulated leather. The same on the armrest. I've noticed that sometimes this could get all chewed up, especially if the windows aren't tinted, because the sun will just beat the heck out of that. And if they didn't put any kind of protectant whatsoever, then it kind of will age a lot faster than the rest of the interior. But here's another part where you really just want to make sure that everything closes nicely, your gaps are nice and clean all the way around. The Limited has keyless entry, push button start, which is very nice. Listen for those noises. Don't go ahead for the drive and just turn on the music real loud and just start jamming out. You want to listen for those noises and make sure that there's no weird creaks, rattles, or anything that's happening from underneath the hood. But let's go ahead. We talked about the interior. Everybody knows what the trunk looks like. Let's go ahead and take Lori's BRZ for a spin. All right, guys. One of the reasons why Lori went the BRZ route, and she'll tell you in her own words once we get some time for her to be in front of the camera, is she just really loved the rawness of it. You know, when I brought home a press fleet vehicle from Toyota, the Toyota 86, there's just something about the car. You know, obviously we've already had discussions that this car does not have a lot of horsepower. For 2016, it had 200 horsepower if you got a manual transmission. If you get a newer one, 2017 or brand new, they have 205 horsepower, and the gearing has been revised for a little quicker acceleration. But she just loved that raw feeling that you get from the sounds of the engine, overall the feeling of the way the steering wheel is, how weighted it is, how connected you feel to all four wheels. That's really what attracted her to wanting a BRZ as a fun car, because what she wants to do is she's not using this as her daily driver. She has her Mazda 3, a 2018 Mazda 3 that she got after getting rid of the Focus ST. It just, with the Focus ST, and she'll tell you that the seats, the Recaros for her, the bottom is just so angled, and it's great for track days and autocross events and curvy roads, but everyday driving, her commute changed a little bit, traffic got worse, and it was just killing her hips, and she couldn't take it anymore. And you know, I could understand that. So we got the Mazda 3, but as great as the Mazda 3 is for everyday driving, she missed that fun experience that you only get from a car with a manual transmission, especially something like this BRZ, almost at 86. But it was the 86 that she drove for a couple days that she just fell in love with, and she knew exactly what she wanted. When going back talking about the fluids and everything, when you're looking out underneath the hood, not only do you want to check the level, but you also want to check how clean the fluids are, especially the oil. If the oil looks like chocolate syrup, I would put the dipstick back in, thank the person for their time, and run. That means the oil has not been changed in God knows how long. You want the brake fluid to be a nice clear yellowish color. The oil, you want to be able to definitely see through to the dipstick, and you want it to be a nice proper level, not overfilled, because that could cause problems. You could blow out seals and whatnot if you overfill the oil. And then also, you know, look underneath. Park the car one place, then park in another place and see if anything's dripping, especially diff. That diff oil coming from the differential in the back, you know, there could be problems back there. Now, driving down the road, like I said, you want to listen for creaks and rattles. Clutch pedal should be nice and firm. If you put the car in first gear and you let out the clutch and you're not rolling, say you got your foot on the brake or something, that's a problem. If the car is still running and it doesn't stall, that's a problem that you have a really worn out clutch. Another thing, put it in 6th gear, get on throttle. If the RPMs do not rise with the speed, that is a clutch issue. You got a worn clutch. So those are ways you can tell to see if the clutch has been used and abused. Like I said, I bought this car from an adult man who is a car kind of person, didn't use it for autocrossing or taking it to track days. It was his daily driver, and the guy definitely took care of the car. I mean, especially when I got off the phone with Subaru of Gainesville and heard of how meticulous everything was taken, and always done by the book. And that's the thing, is if you have the factory warranty, a lot of times you want it done by the book, because that's how you keep that warranty. When we're talking about the actual gearbox itself, you want to make sure that when you put it into each gear, you're not having to force it. It should be a nice smooth action. If you're having to force it, or if it pops out of gear while you're driving, that could be an issue with the synchros, which is another part of the transmission. It's not the actual gears. They're smaller gears. A lot of times they're made out of plastic, and if somebody, say, was driving with their hand on the shift lever and applying pressure to it going down the road, you could actually wear out the synchros that way. So one thing to definitely take into consideration, you should not have to manhandle the gear lever into each gear. But definitely try out each gear, check the acceleration, and see if there is any slippage from the clutch that is happening. Also, just look around and try out all the switches. You know, like I said, this one being a limited, it does have dual climate control, so make sure that that works. Also, ask or check. You can actually check, it doesn't take very long. Check the cabin filter. A lot of times those go unchecked by their owners, and it is necessary to change that filter because it will hurt the operation of your AC, especially the amount of air that blows out. Plus, it's going to smell probably a little nasty if that air filter has not been changed. Of course, you want to check your engine air filter. That's another easy one you could do as you're inspecting the car. If an owner has an issue with any of this, it could be A, they don't want you touching anything, or B, they're trying to hide something. If they don't allow you to check the air filter, have them show it to you. Have them open it up and show it to you. I'm telling you, it's just little things like this that will tell you how well the car has been taken care of and what type of money are you going to have to spend to bring it up to the proper maintenance if the stuff has never been done. When it comes to brakes, apply the brake pedal, let go of the steering wheel, see if the car pulls to one side or the other. You could have a warped rotor or sticking piston in the brake calipers that makes the car pull from one side to the other. If you hit the brake pedal and you get a shuddering feel, to the car, that could be a warp rotor. So these are things that take into consideration to buying your BRZ, your FRS, your 86, or really any car, to be honest with you. I'm just trying to show you some pinpoint things on the BRZ that could be sore spots. Going back to the whole letting the clutch out in first gear while you're sitting still, if the car doesn't start to roll, that means the clutch is gone. If you let out in first gear and the car doesn't stall or roll forward at all, you got a problem there. I would walk away from that particular BRZ. Try to find the one that has the best mileage and is closest to stock. That's my advice. And if you spend a little bit more on the actual car, you may not have to spend money a little bit after you buy it on trying to correct issues that might be with the car, because you said, hey, I'm gonna get one with 80,000 miles on it, get it for cheaper. Well, you may have to spend a lot of money doing certain things to the car, whereas if you get one with lower mileage, then you're not having to lay that money out from the start at least. These are just little things to take into consideration that Lori and I did. Another thing is, if we bought this from a private seller, you know, the guy was the original owner, we were buying it privately, we weren't at a dealership, I highly recommend you do the deal at the DMV. If you do the deal at the DMV, if that's a possibility, they will make sure all the paperwork is done properly with the bill of sale. Anything that the seller tells you during the negotiating or whatever, you want in that bill of sale, because if there's ever an issue and you have to take them to small claims court, the judge is only going to look at the four corners of that bill of sale. For example, this one had extended warranty until 2023. Part of the deal is that the seller has to sign this form from Subaru that allows you to transfer it. If they don't sign it, then there could be an issue transferring into your name. So I made sure that that was in the bill of sale that we were signing, that he was also going to sign and provide me any information that I needed to get the extended warranty put in my name, because that was something very important. This car, a 2016, we have warranty all the way, bumper to bumper, all the way until 2023. So we found a real cream puff. We really did. We got lucky. Take your time. Don't buy the first one that you see. There's plenty of them out there. You just got to look for the right one. Trust me, I told you, it took us over 2 months to find this particular one. But let's see how the BRZ drives, and this is really the reason why both Lori and I love this car. On the brakes into this left-hand turn here, the feedback you get in this car is almost like no other. It's so raw, and it really feels like a car from the 1990s, only it's a lot newer. In a good way. That nice, raw, connected feeling. Love the sound of the intake. When you get on throttle, you can hear the throttle body open up and start sucking in that air. It's naturally aspirated, as you already know. But just really great. This particular 2016 BRZ we found is just amazing. It really is. We got super lucky just finding a perfect car. Another thing, look at the glass. Make sure it's got the Subaru name on it, because that'll tell you if the windshield's been replaced, if any of the side glass has been replaced, the rear glass, any of that. Those are other things to look for. Now, it was an option to get an auto-dimming mirror, which this one does have. So if that's something important to you, see if you can find one in it, because it was an option. We got the window sticker, all the books, everything from the original owner. So it was a real pleasure to do it this way, to get the right car and do it smart. But take it to the DMV, have them look over all the paperwork. You need to have a bill of sale. If you're giving them money, you better get some type of bill of sale in return. I don't care if you have a crayon and toilet paper to write it on, you need a bill of sale. That is important. It should have the VIN number. It should have both people's full names, address. I would even put driver's license number on there. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having more information than what you need. All right, guys, one more run through some Twisties. That's why she got this car. She wants to autocross it. She wants to take it to a track day or two, and she definitely wants to enjoy the drive. That's what makes this car so special to her. But here we go. Clutch feels great in this car. Pickup point is awesome on throttle. This is where the BRZ earns its keep. Really want the gearbox in this thing. Rear wheel drive, on the brake, feeling great. Look at this. This is wonderful. I love driving this car. Thank you, Lori, for letting me drive your car. Love it. Look at this. So smooth. The way the power delivery is and everything, it's just, it really is a freaking dream to drive. Look at this. Into this tight right-hander. Nice. On throttle. The great news is that you could use the power, and it's so forgiving. That's another thing. This car is so forgiving. What we have noticed from test drives, especially driving the 86, the Toyotas and the Scions are a little bit more tail happy. The BRZ, the chassis is a little bit more properly balanced. So if you definitely want to throw out the rear in some type of drift situation, the 86 or the FRS is the better way to go, but definitely this BRZ, you can still get that tail end out, and the traction control says, no, 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 the back end's coming out and snaps you back. But hopefully this gave you a nice overall feeling of how fun an BRZ or an 86 or an FRS can be, and what you need to look for, and how you need to do the sale when buying a used BRZ or any car really whatsoever. But we're gonna go ahead and I'll get back to where we started and wrap this up, so I'll see you in a split second. All right, guys, it's been a wonderful time going over this BRZ. I got to talk about on the drive why Lori decided to get a pre-owned BRZ. You know, she had that Focus ST, and it just, in the end, was not working for her. Those recalls were just not working for her. Stay tuned, because Lori will be giving you her insight, her input into this BRZ. We both have been working extremely hard. She has her own full-time job, so as soon as we can free up some time, she definitely will be giving you some of her input on why she went with the BRZ and why in the end she wanted to add that to our driveway. But if it's things like this you want to see, where I go over things you should be looking for when you're buying a pre-owned vehicle, any particular one or just overall, leave a comment in the comment section. If you're new to the channel and you're on your way out, hit that subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile coming back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Radies Rise family. If you want us to keep making great content just for you on the channel, click the link in the description. Get yourself some Radies Rise merch. Got to give it up to Big Guns McGee, getting this BRZ on camera from all the angles. He loves the lines of the BRZ, just like he loves the lines of a Chevelle or a beautiful woman. So thank you, Tom, for all your hard work. And just like always, I'll see you on the next ride.